Larry, we've just gone on a 5-minute warning for the next race, which will be Group 5A, 1964 to 1969 FIA Manufacturers Championship cars.
The one thing that I'm doing it for is my 5-year-old grandson, Remington, because after they spade me under, maybe he'll show it to his friends and say, guess what? That was my papa. And we're here at Laguna Seca for what used to be the historic races. Now it's called the Rolex Monterey Motorsport Reunion, but basically it's the same race, same place, same fancy cars. You know, it's one of the premier vintage races probably in the world. This one in maybe Goodwood in England. This is my Alfa Romeo, which won the World Championship in 1975. Very famous car. Actually, the last World Championship Alfa Romeo won was this car. Took it out today and it's having lots of problems with the gearbox. I came back in and luckily a friend of mine, Jonas Stasi, a very experienced Alfa race car mechanic, and so he came and took a look at it and he found out there was a major spring missing with inside the shifting linkage, and that's the problem I was having. I couldn't get it to go in the right gears, and when I thought it was in 5th gear, it turned out to be in 3rd gear. It kept moving back and forth, and it's very difficult to drive. Blocking me everywhere. You know, it really was. I mean, come over here and you can move over there. It's unbelievable. It's on. I mean, you know, come on. I could have bought it. I could have got him right here, but I was trying to slower car. And I couldn't move. There was nowhere to go. That was good. That was good. You know,
just that one miscue. You're lucky the guy behind you was paying attention.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I was a little bit too... Well, now I'm shifted. I'm just going to move it over. Not even going to hold it. Just that way. It was right in the middle. Just drop it in. I was trying to, you know,
Trying to guide it, right?
Yeah. But it was a fun race. Yeah, it was. Fun race.
And this morning had a little bit problem with the stick shift linkage. I helped him out to adjusting and make it so he can find all the gears, because he had a hard time finding the gears. And I guess that this problem will go on for a long time. Finally, I helped him out, and I'm glad that when I see my friend driving an Alfa and everything will work all right, so we can have fun.
Getting ready for Monterey this year. The car hasn't been running in a while, so we had to go through all of the brakes, replace all of the master cylinders and brake cylinders and pucks and all of that stuff. And then we had to put on a new clutch slave cylinder, a new clutch, change all the fuel lines. I found some loose rod ends on the car, the back suspension. I still have to go through and I have to set the ride height front and back. I have to set the toe in front and rear. I find 2 points in the front that are fairly straight, and that way I mark it. I put this tape on here so I can use the levels, go down to the floor, and then I come out with my string and I run my string along each side. They make laser stuff for this that you can buy, but this is the poor man's way to do it, you know, and it works good. looking around to see if I see anything. That's nice about having this lift, is now I can lift the cars up. Years ago, I didn't have this. So I was just going to put this underneath there, and what it'll do is just protect anything from coming out of the transmission, blowing around on the headers. Ferrari has the same problem.
No, Bob has a natural instinct for cars, and he keeps all my cars running. I'm lucky.
Back in, I think it was mid-'80s, I had the opportunity to drive Joe DiLoretto's T33 12 at Monterey. That was the year that they were honoring the Alfa Romeo mark. At that time, that's the old course in Laguna, the original course. Mark Donohue had the course record at a 59.6 or something like that. To give you an idea how fast this car was, I was out there fooling around with that at 105. So the car was extremely fast and very docile.
I was running at lower RPM. I was shifting at like 9 and 95, and Joe said, you can run that to 11. I said, I don't want it to run it to 11. He said, well, then run it to 10. Yeah, so I go 10, sometimes a little bit more. Running fine, oil pressure's fine, temperature's fine, perfect. Yeah, we're happy. We're all happy.
I also have a tank that I hook up to the engine that has compressed air in it. It's filled up with 3 quarts of oil, and I inject that into the motor, so it makes sure that the motor has got oil all throughout the crankshaft, all the bearings and everything. So once you get that, you can look down in the cylinders and see the fuel starting to drip. You know it's pretty close to start. Then you take it and you prime the engine by kicking it over until you build up the oil pressure. Even after you've pre-primed the motor, you want to get the oil pressure because there's some of the stuff you haven't scavenged out and got into the remaining oil filters. But I'm getting fuel up to the cylinders now, so it might take a couple of shots. Then you can go ahead and start it.
This car, when it raced in 1975, they had a lot of very famous drivers. For example, Mario Andretti, Jackie Ickx, Jacques Lafitte, Mazzario, Pescarola, and Derek Bell. And this is the car that Derek Bell always drove.
The T33 was certainly a really fantastic car to drive. I drove it in 1975 and a bit in 1976. I think myself and Pescarola won about 5 races, World Championship races with it. We were really hard pushed by the Renault Alpines, but in fact the car was very reliable. The Renault Alpine seemed to falter. And we had some great races. I loved it. That flat 12 engine seemed endless. It just went on revving all the way through, as Mazzario would show us on occasions. But just a beautiful handling car. A bit heavy it seemed, but the engine was very solid. Great fun.
Every time you work on these cars, you find something else wrong, so you end up changing stuff, and it's just a process of checking everything out and eliminating it. So when you get to the race, you don't have any problems. And as a crew chief or a guy that works on the car, I don't want to be working on the car the whole day. I want to be enjoying myself. When I go to a race, I make sure the car, when it leaves the shop, it's ready to go, and we don't have any problems, because there's always the unforeseen problems that show up.
I went to Italy in 1980 and purchased it right from Auto Delta, which is the racing division of Alfa Romeo. And it's been a fun car. I haven't driven it in about 4 years, but now I'm getting back into it. A friend of mine, Steve Reed, he's driving another famous car, a 312 Ferrari. So him and I are having a good race. And he just came by and apologized for blocking me. So we're looking forward to having a good race this afternoon.
1 minute warning has been given to the cars in Group 5A. Big field, Larry, 33 cars entered. 1974 Alfa Romeo FIA prototype driven by Joe DiLoretto, car number 1 from Huntington Harbor.
Not only is this a significant piece of racing history, it's just a thrill to drive a 12-cylinder car that you can rev 11,000 RPM. it makes a magnificent sound. It's symphonic. I know that's kind of a strong word to say for a gasoline engine, but everybody comes by and tells me how great it sounds, and it does sound great. Two young ladies here, they came especially to watch me race. And unfortunately I missed a shift on the beginning, got a lousy start. But I still finished the race, and I still got my arms around those two hot women. That's better than winning the race.
Yeah, right. Trans Am cars to the pre-grid. Cars.
I think we've had a very successful weekend. We had no problems with the Alfa Romeo, ran like the clock, and sounded great. Everybody came by and said it was the best sounding car on the entire field. And I know I'm slightly prejudiced, but they were right. So I'm here with my two buddies. Over here on my left is Bob Havermill, who's been with me now for 30 years, and he keeps all this stuff going. If it wasn't for him, I'd be sitting home watching it on TV.
All the hard work we did for the last 6 months paid off, and we got the cars ready, finished every race and finished every mile, and everything worked out the way it was supposed to.
Here is Phil Martinez.
Oh, you know what? It's just been a pleasure for me to come out here all these 21 years to enjoy all the excitement of racing. I'm just happy to be out here every time we come, wherever we go.
You were born in East LA?
Yes.
I thought you told me you were born in Malibu.
Yeah.
All these years, I thought you were an aristocrat. Anyway, it's been a wonderful time, and we're all headed home, and we're going to have a nice steak dinner tonight, and head on home, and let's hope I don't get stopped by that CHP.
That's right.
Oh, that blonde and the brunette.
And no, that's not going to happen.
Quite an interesting mix of cars in this next event, 1964 to 1969. FIA Manufacturers Championship car.
Can I get a ticket fixed here? Can you take care of that for me?